Welcome back to the Smugglers Den. This is episode 57. I'm your host, Tiny Grimes. And before we start, I want to thank the patrons who are still sticking with the show, especially Steve. Thank you so much for your boundless, endless support. Justin, Cintor, Eric, John, William, you guys are all awesome. Everyone else who is still contributing, you are all awesome as well. You help keep this thing going. And let's get to the show. I want to bring back, I don't want to say my favorite co-host because it might go to his head, but the Rebel Spy Mike. What's happening? How you doing?
What's up, man?
You know what we should try to do since we live in like the same city? We should try to actually see each other in person, in real life.
That sounds kind of crazy. I don't know.
When we did that every week we saw each other?
I do. That was a lot of fun.
I feel like my life was better when I had you in it every single week. I'm just going to say that.
You know, I really appreciate that. And the feeling is not. No, I'm just kidding. Fair. It's definitely fair. Mutual, dude. It's way more fun when we actually get to play in person like all the time.
Yeah. And I want to say this. I love the fact that LA has about 100 store championships. Like, that's awesome. Except for the fact that it means that no multiple people at the same one that actually know each other, which seems bizarre to me.
I guess it's kind of just like luck, like random, like who's going to which one.
Yep. John went to one, didn't know a soul there. You went to one. Did you know anyone?
Yeah, I knew a few people that that have played around like the Valley at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of weird. Like we went out for a draft to, I think, Shuffle and Cut, the Garza's headquarters. And the Garzas weren't even there. I was like, come on, guys. I made a big effort to come see you, and you're not even here today? So shout out to the Garzas for screwing me over. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Nice.
All right. So there's a couple things I want to talk about today. The big topic I want to talk about, especially with Gencon here actually happening now, when this gets posted, I'm sure the finals will be done and everything I'll say looks stupid. But Mike, I want to ask you this question. Have we entered a phase of Star Wars Destiny where we have so many sets and so much to choose from and so many combinations that we've almost reached like this degenerate phase of Destiny where it's like launch bay one-turn kills, one character Sabines with NPE elements, mill decks running wild. Like, it just feels like all the stuff that people don't like are the
Those
best
are literally
decks.
the 3 decks that I've played most over the last like 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much only played Yoda, Anakin, Cassian because the deck is bonkers. Like, I've lost like 1 out of 30 games with this thing. It's insane.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
There's definitely an element of that, right? Like decks are just so consistent at this point, and like the cards that you can put in there are just like so good, and they work together so well that you can achieve things that were never possible before. Like the launch bay deck kind of showed up a little bit in the Legacies meta, at least towards the end of it. But it is way better with Way of the Force cards and the spot a plot to draw 3 cards card. So it's just the more cards that exist, the more cards can you can put towards your strategy, and that strategy just gets better.
I don't want to say John is bad at the launch bay deck, but it doesn't seem that hard to beat. but John, it was hilarious because this was the most miserable experience I've ever had playing Star Wars Destiny. Right, John?
Yeah, it's a bad time to play against.
Yeah, so this is even worse. We're just playing casually. He breaks this deck out, and I was like, oh, cool. I've been wanting to see someone actually play this. He has no idea what he's doing. He doesn't know half the cards. He's got to read them. His turns are taking like 45 minutes each. I actually got up at one point and started playing my Switch, and I was like, dude, just tell me when your turn is done because you're clearly just like fumbling around here, and I'm just going to claim. Screw it. And he's so like, funny. All right. And then he didn't do anything. He just like milled himself and then lost. Against, by the way, Sabine only.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Yeah. The Sabine deck should lose matchup like
Oh
every
yeah,
single time.
yeah, it's absurd. Like he doesn't even need to do any shenanigans. He just kill her. Yeah. So and then the
That is
next
so
game he
funny.
beat her, but then I slaughtered him with mill. Like I just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
milled off one of the crucial cards, and then
And that was
anytime
it.
he had a discard die showing, I just removed it, so there was no rebel, and he was like, "Would you let me rebel already?"
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. There's some definite downsides to that card if you know how, or to that deck if you know how to play around it.
yeah,
But just like the fact that it's possible to to get the combo off turn like round one,
yeah,
um, is just not good for the game. Just like if that deck is tuned to a point where it can do that consistently, even like turn one or two, it just becomes like you win off the mulligan, like
yeah.
both players. It's like, did you draw removal? Okay, no, then I win. Or
And not
like,
even did you draw removal, did you draw enough removal? Because they're
yeah,
going to probably have a friends in low places at some point.
yeah,
Maybe,
to snipe the
yeah.
removal for sure, for
So
sure.
you got to have several removal pieces. And a lot of decks aren't capable of drawing several removal pieces turn one, right? It's just not how they're
Right.
built.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's obviously decks that could be like Mill is really good against
Yeah,
it. Like Cad Snoke, if it can hit that Fortress card, just like wrecks
yeah,
it.
right.
But I mean, against all the vehicle decks that are going on again. I mean, unless they're playing like, Scruffy and stuff like that. But I don't know. It feels really bad to lose to.
You know what?
Um,
I'm going to say this, Mike. I beat it 3 out of 4 times. It was the
yeah,
least fun I've ever had playing Destiny. It feels bad to beat. Like it's just
yeah,
a miserable deck to play against.
yeah. I totally agree with that. I think that it should not be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it took us like 4 hours to play 4 games, and I was like, John, I don't want to play against that deck. And he's like, come on, man, just one more. And I was like, John, just leave my house. Would you just leave? I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. Okay, so that deck we can agree, and I think most people would agree that deck's a problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah, like even like a lot of people think that like a deck has to be just like dominating every event for it to be a problem, but
No.
if it's just creating a scenario where it's just not fun, like the whole point of this game is to is for the players to have fun. If a deck exists and it's just straight up unfun, like objectively almost, then
Yeah.
it's got to go. Something's got to happen.
See, that's hard because I don't necessarily agree with that. Like when Sabine Ezra was not really fun to play against, I didn't feel like it was anywhere near in the same category. I feel like this like is elevated to this new point of being absurd, right? Like just pushing it all the way to the most absurd edges that you possibly can push it to.
Sure, but like even Sabine Ezra was removed from the game with
Sure.
the point bump. So
But not Sabine. Mike,
true,
I think you
true
know a
story.
little bit about this.
I know a little bit.
That deck, if they're playing 2 characters or less, they are going to lose.
Yeah, it's really really strong against those matchups. And I've been thinking hard about like how to improve the matchup against like vehicles and stuff like that, against throw 3 and 4 wide decks, and like you can just play thermal, and
Mm.
it's like kind of good because um,
I like that.
like it only costs 2.
Yep.
You still have an extra resource left over for your 3 cost if you have Moses Vault out, which you should.
Yep.
So I'm kind of
Mike.
thinking that that's the way to go.
Come on, Mike. 'Cause that's the next deck I want to talk about. Like, that's a freaking degenerate deck.
It kind
And
of is, yeah.
what I've realized is it's not a degenerate deck. Never Tell Me the Odds is maybe the most broken card in our game. The thing is,
Yeah.
it doesn't have a lot of great spots for it, right? And so I think it's easy to look at that card and be like, it's fine. It's only great with calling favors, and it's currently only great with Sabine. But like John and I were playing, and he was getting so mad because I would claim, he would claim, and I'd go, "That's game."
Yep.
And he's like, "What do you mean that's game?" And I was like, "It's game." I'm gonna do my roll in. I have Infamous out. I don't even
Hmm.
like. There's literally nothing you can do. The game is over. And I haven't rolled. And he's like, "That's the stupidest thing." My character. I have 2 characters left, and they're full health. I'm like, "Yeah, and they're both dead."
Yep.
And it's only like turn 4. Like that card to me. Like if you look at it, you look at the trajectory. It's like heat of battle, limit 2 dice for 2. I feel like Never Tell Me the Odds should be limit 3 for 3.
I do not disagree with that
All right. I don't
at
know.
all.
Do you think it's a big enough problem to warrant an errata, or are you more in the camp of let's errata as few cards as we can? It's only good in this one deck. Sabine has not demonstrated she can win a major event. I don't mean to throw shade at you, Mike, but I was looking at your opponents. They were all 2 characters or less, Mike.
Yep. That's 100% true. I'm of the errata as few things as possible. I'm in that camp just because I think it makes the game kind of messy and makes it harder for new players to get in, and just like nobody wants to have to remember a billion erratas.
That's definitely true.
So like, to me, if I had the option to either errata a card or ban a card, I say just ban it, so that's just like not even something that people have to think about. But
All right, that's fair.
yeah, like in the case of Never Tell Me the Odds, like it is absolutely insane. And I mean, especially in that deck where you're, rolling out and dealing like, 11 to 15 damage with it. Like before your opponent could do anything, which is what I was doing in like all of my games.
Yeah.
So
it
like,
felt ridiculous. Like it didn't feel fair, right? It's like
oh,
Destiny is
totally.
I take an action, you take an action, not I claim and you're dead with 2 characters with a combined total of 16 health. Like that just that doesn't feel like it should be a thing.
No, I totally agree.
So I don't know. I think that card needs to go, and then I think that deck is fine. Like I think it's still a strong, viable deck in a 2-character meta, but it doesn't have that like you just automatically lose mentality. You still have to have things go your way, which they very well will if you have 3 weapons. But it just feels unfair to be like 15 damage.
Yep. So I totally agree. I think that card gives the deck like the inevitability that that really pushes it over the top. And if that wasn't there, like you then have to rely on your rolls, which is kind of the point of the game to a certain extent.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's funny because it kind of surprises me because I like cards that skirt that, right? That let you use strategy, but that one's just it's too much. Even 3 dice might be fine, right? Because you roll in, 2 of your dice hit, so then you're only having to flip 3.
Yeah.
Like it still will probably do the job just fine. It just feels like infinite is too many.
So absolutely. Do you want to know something funny that would actually nerf it in that deck? Reducing the cost to 2.
That is a good point. Oh, did I? Okay, all right. All right, this segment is called Tiny is a Freaking Moron. You ready for this segment, Mike? So
I'm so ready.
I made a really busted deck. It was Elite DJ, 1 Jedi Guardian, calling in favors, all 2-cost events, Entangle, Mind Trick, and the thought was, they all cost 1, Mike!
Oh my god.
I even recorded a video and posted it. And then I was like, oh god, what have I done? Because I played the next game. And immediately the next game, I tried to Mind Trick for 1, and the guy was like, I don't know what you're doing. I was like, what are you talking about? That's the whole point of this deck. And he's like, you need to read that card. My first opponent didn't even know the card as well as I did. It was a mess. God. So that deck went from being like borderline broken to not very good in a really short amount of time.
That is too funny.
I don't know if you've looked at Villain Blue Yellow. Not a ton of awesome 3-cost events.
No.
It's like Into the Crosshairs, and then you're like, I guess Ensnare? Like it worked at one time. Maybe it'll work again.
Yeah. Yeah, the 3-cost events or like the 3+ cost events at Hero are so much better.
Yeah, like light years better. They don't even get Bravado, which isn't amazing, but it's like, yeah.
It's crazy. Like the best thing the villains have there, if you're looking to do some like weird dice removal type stuff, is the one where you turn all their blanks to sides and then resolve them against them.
Yep. But you know what I call that? I just play Feel Your Anger for 1 anyway.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, like the best thing that you can do with that, with like calling in favors in villain, At least that I've found is like Rise Against for two and like Dark Councils for two.
Yeah. The best thing that
So
I found actually
or for
is
three.
when I played it with a melee deck. Like
Mm-hmm.
I actually played melee weapons, and that was cool because I was able to get off that card. I don't even
The
remember what it's called.
decisive blow.
Yes, and you remove all their dice and do 5 damage and do 2 more with your melee weapon, and then laugh
Mm-hmm.
hysterically as they want to punch you in the face.
So good. The
But
problem is that you have to run like a two character deck,
yeah,
and then for half the game you're only getting a discount of one.
yes, yep, that, and then also you're having to pay 2 for weapons when you can't afford that.
Right.
You don't have Maz's Vault in that deck.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
So the
I'm.
belt,
I'm.
my deck had Holocron abilities, and then I used every cent to pay for events.
Hmm.
But it was fun, but it pointed out how foolish and ridiculous I can be when I don't read cards.
So like all the time.
Whoa. Truth hurts, man. Truth hurts. All right. So last question then with the degenerate decks is mill a viable win condition, or is mill an NPE degenerate experience? Let's talk about that, because I think that's a really big question. And if the answer is NPE, it needs to be nerfed. If the answer is, hey man, it's a part of the game, get used to it, then let's get used to it.
Hmm. I mean, I'm a weird person to be like talking about this, right? Because I play a lot of mill,
Mm-hmm.
and when I've played against a mill, like I've never really been frustrated at like my opponent's deck. Sometimes I get annoyed that like I can't roll damage ever,
Yeah.
and then like I can't reroll, so I can't like actually do anything. But it's like that's to a certain extent, it's like if I'm expecting to face mill, like maybe I'm going to include some cards that are better against that strategy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I think I'm in the it is a strategy that should like exist in the game in some way,
Hmm.
um, but maybe in a different way that it is currently
Yeah.
in the game because of how like strong it is and how fast it is possible to mill people and how sort of bad it is to like lose cards from your hand, especially early game, like before you have a chance to use them.
Yep.
So like against like a Leia Yoda or against like a Cad Snoke or something like that. Like that, like Cad Snoke isn't even necessarily a mill deck, but it feels so bad to lose like 4 cards out of your hand, like
Yeah.
like right at the top. It's like what do you like? How do you come back from that? So
Yeah. Yeah. My thought is, I actually love playing mill because it's how I
hmm
wanted to play Destiny from the beginning, which is you try to do things, I thwart you.
yes,
And mill is just the current way that allows you to do that. We haven't had a true control deck yet where you just control, and then close them out. The Sabine deck, I feel like, is the closest to that. Um,
hmm
but yeah, my thought from the beginning has always been mill is going to get to a point where it's too good, right? Like we can just always tell it's been just a hair off, and with every
yeah,
set, it gets more and more redundancy. Eventually, the tide is going to turn.
yes.
And I've always said I feel like mill should be no better than tier 2. Like I want it to be a part of the meta,
hmm
but I don't want it to be the deck that you have to beat. Like I think that's a bad spot for it to be in.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I kind of don't understand like why people hate it so much. But like I respect the opinion. And like that being the case, that it is really like something that people hate playing against. Like it just doesn't make sense for it to be a strategy that they push really hard.
Yeah,
Um,
that's kind of where I'm at as well. Like
yeah.
if we all agreed as a competitive community that we liked it, that'd be different. But I kind of view it like
hmm
this: like melee decks are like the lightsaber wielding people in the Star Wars universe. The gun decks are like the Han Solo fans, and the mill decks are like the people who are like, I love the Senate, like the Republic
Yeah.
Senate is
Right.
where I'm at. And that's a
It's like
small amount of people, man.
that's a good point.
So yeah, I feel like it's
It's
just completely against the way the game is designed for casual players. Like I think that's where the biggest
totally.
problem comes in. These guys roll into a store championship and they're like, I got a cool deck. I'm having fun with it. Yeah, it's not tier 1, but you know what? I don't care. It's my deck. And then a mill deck is just like, well, I hope you were prepared to lose because it's like we didn't even play.
Yeah, I like one thing about mill that I do like is that it kind of keeps like the vehicle sort of like really long game strategy decks in check, like the high health like if you're playing a deck that has high health that's hedging against like that the more beatdowny like aggro or mid range decks, like it's good for those decks to have some kind of counter.
Yep.
Otherwise, like the game is just a bunch of really slow support decks because those have now become so efficient.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what deck beats that deck if Mill like doesn't do it, but I don't know. I feel like in Legacies, like it was a better balance there. Like the Mill decks were not quite as tuned. And like they could still beat the vehicle decks, but they weren't quite as explosive against like the aggro decks and stuff like that.
Yeah, and isn't that how a meta's supposed to work, Mike?
I think so.
That's how it's supposed to work, right? There's supposed to be these checks and balances. Right now, the check and balance is like mill beats all. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what beats mill even. Like I haven't done extensive testing because I didn't go to Gen Con, but in my testing, it just beats everything.
I think the Solo Sabine deck does a pretty good job of wrecking mill, but that's another NPE deck that everybody hates.
Yeah, I didn't find that to be the case. I found it to be good. What I found actually was, do I pull both of your Never Tell Me the Odds or not?
Okay, that's fair.
That's what I found.
That's a fair point.
And so I would, mill as hard as I could. I would take only mill sides with Yoda. I would, just mill every single card I could until I hit both Never Tell Me the Odds. And I was like, woo, okay, all right, now we can play a real game.
Smooth sailing. Yeah, that's a good point.
But again, that just comes down to that one feel bad card, right? Like when the whole game comes down to, can you mill this one card? That feels weird.
So, yeah, some's off there.
All right. So it seems like we're kind of in agreement that mill is necessary, but having mill be the best deck in the meta is not probably the ideal spot for it.
Yeah, I like personally, I don't totally mind, but I think that for the game in general and like for the overall community and stuff like that, and for people enjoying playing the game, and it's obviously not great. I don't know what they do though. Like all of the good mill cards are in like the legacy cycle, so they're not going away for a while.
I was showing John my Anakin, Cassian, Yoda deck, and I was like, we need to look at this because this is basically a trilogies deck with a very small amount of other cards. Like, I don't think Second Chance is a game breaker. Like, it's great, it's really great, but I think the deck still lives without it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm definitely worried about that.
Yeah.
Well, next question for you. Let's talk about Store Championship season. Are you going to any more Store Championships?
I'm planning on going to one this Saturday.
At Game Ogre?
At Game Ogre.
Oh, I might go too.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be awesome.
The only problem is I didn't realize the Gen Con main event was going to wrap up tomorrow before the Store Championship.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that, right? It's like if I take a deck that was prevalent there, I'm going to feel like I'm a D-bag, even though I already know a deck I would be bringing.
Right.
And then there's going to be all these net decks, right? Like whatever wins, there's going to be like 8 copies of it there. And you're like, oh, jeez, are you kidding me?
I mean, it's all the way up in Westlake. I don't know who regularly plays that store and if they follow the competitive scene as much, but I don't know. I'm gonna play a weird deck. I've been toying around with this Price Vehicles deck for a while, and I'll probably bring that because I'm kind of more into just playing weird stuff and having fun.
Yeah, so I bought an Afra, my second Afra, before right when the set dropped because I knew she was going to go up.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to play the Afra Droids deck.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I'm just terrible with it, but I can't get that deck to be great. Like, I can get it to be good, but I can't get it to be great.
Yeah, I'm awful with that deck. I've never been able to play any Afro deck well at all. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
Um,
Me
but
neither.
yeah, I'm just bad at it straight up.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem, right? Like if we knew why we were bad, we're smart enough people, we could fix it. But when you don't know why you're bad, it's like, well,
It's a bit more of a problem.
yeah, I don't know what to say now.
Yeah,
I need to get lessons from the pro Afro players out there, apparently.
yeah. Call up Cuenca.
Yeah, because I really wanted to play that, and I was all excited. And I had a build that I had a Seventh Sister Afro build that was going to be my main build, and I just couldn't get that to work. And then I saw people were running Snoke Afro and a Battle Droid, and I got all excited, and I net decked one, and it just fell to pieces like 4 times in a row. And I was like, "This is
Yeah.
not working."
Yeah, I for like Destiny is weird for me sometimes where like a deck that everybody says is good, like I'll try it out and then I'm just like garbage at it and I like just can't figure out why.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Destiny for me is a really hard game to test because of like some of
Yeah.
the more random elements of it.
Yeah, if your partner is not good at a deck, like for instance John with the launch bay one turn kill deck, like I have this totally skewed view of it that it like never wins anything,
Yeah.
and the players just stick around until they run out of cards and then go, well, I guess I lost. I never killed him. He resigned every game because he
Oh my
ran out of
gosh.
tools.
Apparently it went 7-1 today at Gen Con.
Oh my. Okay.
Like one person did it.
Yeah, I mean,
Which
and
is
and the
crazy.
whole theory is supposed to be it only works as a surprise, right? I can't imagine once he was 3-1, 4-1,
Yeah,
that
that
was
it was
surprising
surprising
anybody.
for. Yeah, exactly. I brought it to the Galactic qualifiers.
You did?
I did for.
Oh my god! How did
I
it
was just
do?
like, I want to try this and try something wacky.
Yeah.
I went 2-2, and in
Okay.
the 2 games that I won, I like defeated my opponent's entire team from full health on round 2.
So you were basically the biggest jerk ever at these qualifiers. At least you
Yes.
didn't win them. That would have been
No,
even
no,
worse.
no.
I just
Yeah.
brought a straight up broken deck, and that worked fine.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
It,
let,
it,
let's
it, it was literally illegal by the end of the day.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Like round 3, people were coming up to me and they're like, "We need a deck check. Your deck is illegal." And I didn't know what was happening. I was just like, this is a weird joke." Right? And remember, I did have an illegal profitable connections, but someone loaned me a real one
Right.
before the event. And they were like, "That's not what we're talking about. We're telling a joke here." I was like, "Oh, I missed that joke. My bad." So let's turn to some Gen Con predictions since Gen Con is already going.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a crazy prediction and say the Hyperloops team does pretty dang well.
I think that prediction has almost already paid off. They're
Okay? I'm
like
going to make
all
one more
X and one or X and two.
that Taxter will do well.
Hey, look at that.
And wait, it's going to
Wait.
be with the original Phasma somehow. I have no idea how.
Yes. That's my favorite prediction.
Yeah, what I want is an alt art Phasma with Taxter's face on it. That's what I want. I don't know if it'd be
Yes.
playable, but it'd be great.
I would play it.
All right. So what deck do you think is going to win Gen Con?
Oh man. From what I've been sort of seeing on the Destiny internet, the things that are sort of rising to the top are like vehicles and mill.
Oh,
That's
Mill's gonna
pretty
win.
much yeah, like that's pretty much all I've heard of. So yeah, my money's on mill.
Okay. Um, did any like Sabine decks make it?
Not as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna say the winning deck is going to be Cassian, Anakin, Yoda,
Hmm.
and because I've played it a lot and it's bonkers, and I heard today that the Hyperloops team, not necessarily all of them, but like the team larger,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people playing it. So I think the
Hmm.
sheer numbers, Mike is a great player. I think that deck. Well, let me hedge this a bit. I think that deck is going to win. I'm really curious to see if someone will slow play Mike out of the round of the cut. Wouldn't that be crazy,
I
man?
kind of almost want that to happen so that we can get the tiebreaker rules changed.
Yeah. And then the person who did it was Joe.
Yeah.
And they like got in a fight in the parking lot afterwards. Oh, it'll be magical.
Yes.
And then he
That would
was
be
like
pretty
vlogging
hilarious.
during the fight. He's like, Mike here, thinking he's a big man. Oh, he connected. I'm down.
Oh man,
Oh boy.
that'd be too funny.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, really, my real prediction is basically whatever the Hyperloops guys are on. I think there's a real
gonna
good
win.
shot that is going to be the winning deck.
Yeah.
So, and you know what I'm most surprised about? I saw Cuenca made the cut.
Yeah.
You know what that means?
With Afra.
He brought a good deck for once. That's always been his downfall. He's like sometimes the forgotten member of the team because it'd always be like Mike and Joe brought the best deck in the meta. What'd you bring, Cuenca? And he's like, I don't know. I said audible at the last second to some crazy off the wall deck. Like, why did you do that? And he's like, I don't know. It wasn't the best decision. Oh man. All right.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, he's playing Afro, which is really
That's what
cool
I've
because
heard.
he's been on that deck for a long time.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him. I definitely
Yeah,
would love to see the
me
after
too.
deck that I can't play at all do well.
Yeah, for real.
I almost bought like
can,
50
can
Afros.
show me how to play it.
Did you hear that? I almost bought 50 Afros.
Did you really?
Yeah. They were
Yeah.
only like $7.
They're like $7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was looking at that and I was like, if I want to make money off this card, I can't buy 3. Like it's not going to go up that much. So I would have to put like 50 cards worth in to make this worth it. And I just decided it wasn't worth it. By the time I paid all the fees and all the shipping costs to sell them all, I would lose money anyway, probably.
Yeah.
So, but I think she's going to go up, especially or unless she already has. Do you know what her value is now?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know anything
Yeah,
about
I haven't
the
been
prices
following that
anymore.
stuff. But I did get an Afra spot loss from the Galactic Qualifier.
Oh, I got Yoda. So
Nice.
that was another reason why I wanted to play the Yoda middle deck. I have one spot gloss, one exactly, and it's Yoda.
Yep.
All right, Mike. Let's see. We got our predictions out of the way. Store champ wrap up. Anything else you want to talk about today?
It's a good question. Have you seen real quick the new Qui-Gon that people talking about that was posted?
I did see that. Let's talk about him real quick. I forgot about that. What is he like a 14, 18, 12 health? Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right. 14, 18, 12 health, and it's like a 1/2 like shield resource, something like that. Like if it has a shield, all of the sides are increased by 1, or all the character die sides are increased by 1, and if you have 3 shields, all your upgrades are also increased by 1.
Yeah. Yeah. That seems
Seems pretty good.
solid. Yeah. I mean, it's like it finally makes a shield deck good.
I think so.
I don't.
Do you
I don't
remember
know.
that one time that Ayla was 12 health and could have fared elite with him?
Yeah, that would have been kind of crazy.
Oh, okay. I just found it. It's a 1 melee, 2 melee, 2 shield resource. So
Whew.
if you have like when you have a shield on him, I mean like that to me is a little bit weird because it's like you have a shield on him, then his shields become 3 shields, and like if you're gonna put shields on him, like you're losing one.
Wait, I thought it was he had to have 3. Oh, is it 1 shield and he gets his boost?
Oh, okay. Never mind. Sorry. It's 2 or more shields. You increase it by 1. You get the boost. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's
And
pretty
then
good.
3
He has
more
no
you-
shields. You resolve that. Your other die is 2
Yeah, is
damage.
it-
Now it's a 3.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I don't know.
You can like really quickly gain 5 shields. On both like on your character's total. If you just like roll 2 shield sides, you just that's now 5 shields. That's kind of fun.
Wow. That's kind of crazy.
I like that you can boost the resource side. I think that's probably the like sneaky best
Ooh,
part about it.
Oh my goodness. Check this out. You play like decent weapons with resource sides also. So you're like, I'll take 7 resources and like, wait, what? Yep. And then whatever
Yeah,
cards in the next set that cost 5 or something, you drop that in their head.
And it's just like if it has 3 shields, it's just upgrade dice. So like if you have an upgrade that has multiple resource sides, like you have a decent chance
Yeah,
of being able to get value out of it, which seems real good.
yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine a scenario where shields are just really that worth it, but that might be the scenario, right?
Yeah.
Like that sounds reasonable to me. The problem is always they can just hit him once and he doesn't have 3 shields anymore. They can just hit him once. He probably doesn't have 2 either. That's always been the downfall, right? It's hard to like make those kind of things work.
Hmm.
But yeah, he's certainly interesting. It looks like we have a couple more cards from a booster pack or like an ad for the booster packs I'm looking at. There's a new Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, that was the ad from. I'm pretty sure that they just like showed on screen at the in-flight report,
Yeah, that's kind of exciting news.
and then it's like,
Let me see if I
yeah,
can
yeah.
find. I
There's
can't
like
really read
Falcon
it.
and I think X-wing, which is similar to TIE Fighter, where you can have like 4 of them in your deck, and then they mentioned a neutral Chewbacca, which sounds pretty cool.
Ooh, a neutral Chewbacca to match the neutral Han. Is that right?
I think that's what they said, but I could be wrong.
That's interesting. And then
Yeah.
it looks like we have the another box art where we have a Vader die with a 3 melee and a 4 melee with a resource. That looks
Yep.
strong.
Sounds pretty
So
good.
here's my question: do you predict that that is like an upgrade die, support die, or do you think it's a Vader?
I hope it's Vader. He should be that good, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's
like
what
if
I'm
if,
hoping.
if Vader's not the best character in Destiny, like something's wrong. Like currently something's wrong because Vader's not the best character in Star Wars Destiny,
This
or at
is
least one of the best characters in Star Wars Destiny.
this is
But
also really important to note. Pretty quick, we're not gonna have a Vader.
right, exactly. So it makes sense that they would release a Vader to replace the Vader that's leaving.
Yeah,
Um,
that
I
to me
mean,
is
then
real exciting. I want
they could do
Vader
that
to
in
be
in
the beat
seven,
stick.
but yeah, it's like Vader should be a beast, right?
Yeah, and it's funny
Yeah.
because they all have been. All Vaders have been beasts for their time for a very short stretch before we're like, no, no,
That is true.
power creep. That card's not even good anymore. And you're like, what? That was the biggest beat stick in the game. Like, he's not good anymore. He's unplayable. Yeah, to think that Awakening's Vader is just flat unplayable to me is mind-boggling.
It kind of is, right? Like, man, how crazy was he when the game came out? Like,
Yeah. That's kind of my litmus test for how far away we've gotten from the game that I fell in love with. Like, I'm not
mhm,
saying that I don't like the game. I'm just saying the game I fell in love with was very different than the game I currently play,
mhm,
which I still enjoy a lot.
fair.
It's just very different
Yeah, it is different. That's true.
because Mike brings cheese decks to all the events. Do you have a secret cheese deck that you're gonna bring to the next event? Oh man.
I think I'm out of cheese decks for now.
That's good because then I'm not coming.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the deal. John and I were gonna go Saturday. John can't go, and so I was thinking maybe I wouldn't.
Oh,
But if
wow.
Mike the Rebel Spy is gonna be there, I
Yeah,
think
you
I
should
need to
go.
go. Then we need to podcast, assuming I win, and I can talk smack. And then if we don't win, I don't know what happened. Podcast just didn't happen.
Yeah, weird. We just forgot to record that week.
Yeah, it's weird. That random guy at the shop that neither of us knew who swept in with the launch bay, 1/2 kill deck, and won it. And it was a 4-person event, so there were only like 2 rounds. That to me has been the funniest part of Store Championship season, by the way, is SWDB being just loaded with like 4th place at Store Championship. There were 7 people there.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm not sure this is useful data, guys. I'm really not. But Gen Con, do you feel like coming out of Gen Con we're gonna have a really good handle on the meta?
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be more defined. I mean, it's just a lot of rounds, and we weeds out the decks really well. I think that with a card pool this big, there's always the opportunity for a deck to come along and surprise people.
Yeah.
But I think that once Gen Con is over, people will start net decking a lot more, and it'll kind of we'll kind of get back to where we were at the end of like Legacies or like the middle of Legacies, where it was like there's still a decent amount of decks, but you kind of know all of them.
I agree. I feel like the reason why this meta hasn't gotten defined is because of Gen Con. That a lot of people are kind of like, yeah, I got this deck. It's really good. I'm not going to talk about it a lot. I'm just going to kind of bring it. And
Yeah.
and sure, maybe it's on the radar, but people don't realize how good it is. I kind of feel like that's what happened with the Cassian, Annika, and Yoda deck. Is like, I talked about it. I saw some other people talking about it, but I didn't hear anyone going crazy about it. And then
Right.
I feel like the Hyperloops guys were the whole time like, little do you know.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, I actually I enjoyed kind of that, like not everybody sort of posting all their best decks online. So
I did
it's
too.
just been
It's
more fun to experiment and try just like weird stuff.
Yeah. When is the next set coming? Is it not till December?
November.
November. So we
So
have.
yeah, like December or January probably.
Whew, we got a dry spell, man. If the meta is basically solved come August 3rd. Whew. It's going to be a long 2 months, my friend.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll see, because like after this is Nova, so
Okay.
like maybe people will still be trying to sort of find like those decks that people aren't expecting for that event, and then like people will see what won at Gen Con, expect those decks to be at Nova, and then try to build decks that counter the decks that are that they expect to see. So
And
there still may be some
especially if it's
evolution.
mill. I feel like mill is
Yeah.
targetable, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So it could be
Yeah.
some really interesting decks where it's like, I play 2 Van Braces, I play 2 Luke's Protections, I play 2 Ancient Lightsabers. That'd be kind of fun.
I mean, honestly, like if Mill's the best deck, a deck like that could be legit.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
like none of those are like terrible cards on their own.
exactly.
So
That's why I named them. Like, they're all reasonable cards.
yeah.
So, all right. Well, so we'll know tomorrow or the next day what the meta looks like. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Hyperloops guys win with. So, good luck, everyone else. Hope, I don't know. Are you rooting for anyone in particular?
Not any specific person. I hope that Mike does well. I hope that Nick does well. Both Nicks. I hope that Joe does well. I mean, like, okay. What I'm really hoping for is that some surprise deck wins, some deck that like people aren't expecting. I just think that that'll be a more interesting outcome. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing like the players that we know are good still be on top.
Yeah. And that's,
So
to me, it really shows you what a skill game Destiny is, right? It's like,
yes.
it basically feels like Gen Con last year.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking
Totally,
at the chart, and I'm like, okay, there's Joe.
Like all those people.
There's Mike. There's Nick. There's Lindbergh. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm right there. Like, and it makes me a little sad, right? I was all planning to go to Gen Con, and then a bunch of stuff happened and made it so I couldn't, even though I had the ticket and everything. It just didn't work out, and I was like, man. I don't know. I feel like I was on the right deck and everything, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I'm sad that I couldn't make it this year, but hopefully next year it will be a different story.
All right, Mike. Well, thanks so much for coming on the Smugglers Den, and I would wish you good luck Saturday. I will wish you good luck Saturday in most of your rounds.
I really appreciate that.
All right, good. All right, I'll see you later, man. Thanks
All
for
right.
coming on. And to
Dude,
the rest
thanks
of
for
you
having
out
me.
there, as always, keep smuggling. Keep smuggling.